Guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. A little bit of a different start today. We're actually going over to my father's because the building out behind the house, the roof is blown off. I got to get that fixed. That's where we keep the four-wheelers and stuff. It's nothing great. It's not a glamorous building. It's just a place where everything's kind of dry. So we're going to drive over there, quick fix that, and then we're actually going to get the Tahoe pulled in and get everything out of it today. So let's see what we can get done. Drop the nail. Do any of you like roofing? I'm not a fan of it because I've really never been a fan of heights. I'm on the last section. I gotta finish rolling it out, but I kept wondering why the roof was coming off so easy. Like this panel here was the one we just brought, if I can get it to flip up, was the panel we brought back up. And all the nail holes are all out of it. And I can't figure out why. Well, I gotta look at the nail heads, they're so fine on it. I think that's like a huge factor of the issue with this. Like all this is flipped up. I gotta drive new nails down through it because the nails that the guy used, I think the heads were so small on it that it just, the wind gets underneath it and flips the paper up. So looks like he took two parts, put them together, and then nailed them down. So the water's been leaking all over that for probably at least the last year, and it's a little soft. This building isn't anything glamorous. Like I said before, it's just to store the four-wheelers and stuff, and we don't really do anything with it, but it's nice if the roof doesn't leak. But that side looks nice. That came out great. It's all pieced back in together. Where a couple rip spots are, I patched them up underneath so the water won't leak down in through. So now it's just a lot of nails to re-nail all of this back down and finish nailing down the part that I didn't yet. But I notice a difference when I go and pull up on the stuff that I nailed down. A lot harder for the nails to come up through. Okay, I'll drive a few nails down through this part. So it's in. We're gonna get the seats out. This one thing I ran down, I got some fabric thread that's for this with some needles where I can go right back through the existing holes, and I'm gonna take this leather piece off. There's the rip on the side. There's not much I can do about it. Same thing back here. There's a rip in the seat and the leather back here. I'm just gonna use Gorilla Tape on it. I think eventually I might re-leather it. I don't know. We'll see. It's running so well right now. I kind of gonna try and preserve this as best I can, but big thing is we're gonna get the seats out right now. When the seats come out, that'll free up so this can actually come out because this is mounted the same way that the factory console goes in, which I have. That's over there on the floor. It's got to get cleaned up. It's totally disgusting. It's covered in, I think the guy smoked that owned it, so we're gonna clean that up. And that's where we're at. So we're gonna get everything set up, get the seats out. Once it's out, eventually at some point, I don't know if I'm gonna get to right or away stitching this, but eventually I'll get this stitched up. Alright, so now seats are out, so this is actually, it's not being held in by anything anymore. Like I said, the seats are what hold this down. Now I gotta fight to get this out, which isn't gonna be terrible. There's one of the screws out. Let's screw that back in just so the next buyer has it. Get that out of the way. This is a mess. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to get the vacuum out and just like suck up a lot of this before I even pull it out of here. There's old food and 15 years worth of whatever you could possibly imagine underneath these seats. This is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Huh. All right, so we're gonna get the vacuum hooked up and then we'll get everything cleaned up on both sides. The other thing I did go while I was out, I got some needle, I got some upholstery thread because of the seat like I was talking about before. And the other thing I got, these are the plugs that when I take the light bar off, they'll actually go on the roof and plug the holes up. So relatively important to have. The other thing we have to figure out is why the sunroof won't open. I think it's because it's got a bunch of caulking that's holding it shut. We'll get to that though. Big thing now is I gotta start lifting this thing up and figure out what's underneath here for wires that come up through the carpet, and what's gotta come out and what's gonna stay. And I think what I'm gonna do is when this comes out, I'll vacuum this area, I'll clean the carpet, and then I'll actually be able to put the new console in, the seats back in, and then we can focus on the back part. Maybe. I gotta see where the wiring is, because like there's some wire right here. I don't know what this is for. It comes way up over here though. We're gonna do some cutting. Might end up tapping into that in the back first to figure out where the power comes to it. Not really sure yet. Nice! That's freaking awesome. I thought that was missing. This is the knob to that thing. I made it so we don't have seats anymore. We just sit like this, we drive like this.
Wow. And I can sit like this?
Yeah, you can sit up there like that. How's that sound?
Good.
Oh, okay. Anyways, as you can see, the seats are out. The carpet's been cleaned up. I actually was hoping that I could just cheat and clean this area up here after I took the console out. But I realized when I flipped this part up underneath my tookish, there's a bunch of wires running up through. So I'm assuming they're all going to the console right in the back that my wonderful cameraman will pan over and look at. All of this, so I'm assuming I'm gonna take that board off, and I think we can actually probably take that console out once I take the board off that everything's mounted on. I'm pretty sure once I take that off, the console can actually come out. So that might be what we do next. Maybe. I think I might take these seats out because it's just gonna make it easier, because I'm assuming they ran everything up underneath it. I just don't remember how they come out. So it's gonna just take us a second to figure it out. And the good news is I found this knob. I was gonna say, it's kind of bummer that, because they always end up breaking or coming up missing, but I actually found underneath the carpet back here with about $4 and change that I still gotta take out. Okay, let's get the back seat out. All right, as you can see, there's this massive pile of wiring right here that all comes up to this board. The board that sits underneath here, you just lift up. There's Velcro tabs that hold it down. The back are actually broke. Not surprised. I really didn't want to take this out, but I'm glad I did, because like everything that's underneath this thing's a mess. It's just, I know kids were sitting in the back of this at some point, so they just leaked stuff down in between the seats. So I'm gonna finish. There's a bunch of 18mm nuts to hold this thing down. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them to hold this whole thing down. You can separate it down here, but I'm gonna leave it in as one unit, and then me and my buddy will just, you collapse these back down, lift the whole thing up, and then you just carry it right out the side, and then we'll set it on the floor. It'll just be easier, and then I can access all this wiring that's run up through into here, and it'd just be way easier. I'm assuming when he did the install on this, that's how he did it, but I still think I'm gonna get this separated, set it down, because this is just like I said, this is just a board sitting on top of the inside of this. So I'll take this out, set it down, and then we can push the whole console out of here. A lot of this I got to figure out where it is and just disconnect what needs to be disconnected and cut it out because it was to the old speakers and radios are all mounted up on there and stuff. And I might pull some of it back down through. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it, but it'd just be easier. I'm just going to start cutting. Start cutting back here. And then up in the front, I got to figure out where it is underneath the hood and then get the power disconnected. Some of it's going to stay though, because I'm going to use it to run the lights that are mounted up on the top and the back and the ones that are up on the rear hatch when they're open, so that way I can have the extra lighting back here. But that's probably going to be like a later project. I don't know if I'm going to get around to that right now. My biggest thing is getting all of this stuff out, cleaning everything, getting the interior put back together, because the guy did message me again. He's probably going to be coming either today or early tomorrow morning to come get the front console, so I want to get everything out of here. So I'm going to get these last two nuts off. We'll rock and lift this thing out, and then be back, because unfortunately our tripod broke, so we have to do things a little different this time. So vacuuming gets you about 80% of the carpet clean. And luckily this vehicle's still old enough they used a pretty decent pile when they manufactured the carpet. It's not great. The Suburban that I had last year was way better than this. But this pile is still pretty good. So a lot of the stuff's coming out. I am noticing all the wiring seems to be running right to here. And then there's some wiring comes up over there. I'm not sure what that wiring does. So I'm gonna have to, I think definitely the next step's gonna be is getting this thing out so that way I can get the back panels off. And then I can kind of figure out what he did and ran wires where. I know a lot of it's run up underneath this access port here, going up to the front and up in through the front. So I got to figure out what he's got up in there and probably start disconnecting some of it. But there's some staining that ran down through where I'm sure something got spilled at some point. I'm really not upset about it, because any detailer that tells you they aren't excited about leather seats are out of their mind, because leather seats save you a ton of time. You don't have to carpet extract them. You just got to clean them, recondition them, and you're done. The only thing I need to extract to this is I got to put some cleaner down and drill brush the carpet and then just extract it. Then this carpet will look great again. Luckily they had WeatherTech floor mats in the front and there really wasn't anybody that normally sat in the back. I mean, yeah, we have a couple spills here, but this could be a lot worse. Fire company that I was in, the 05 Tahoe, there was a stain right here and I didn't do detailing back then. I couldn't get it out. Stuff that I have now, I think I could have broken it loose and got it out of the carpet, but kids get in the back of these things, they just stain them. It's gonna happen because they're treated like they're vehicles. They're the Chiefs vehicle, so the Chiefs gonna usually sometimes have kids and they drive them around. So this really isn't like the dirtiest one I think I've ever seen. This is actually probably the cleanest one I've ever dealt with. So I think the next step's gonna be, like I said, is getting this disconnected, and then we're gonna try and push the console out and see how fun that's gonna be, because this thing's pretty heavy. Okay, it's out. We got some paperwork, a wedge. That could be handy. Looks like they changed one of the Chevy emblems at some point. This old stopwatch. I mean, really, the carpet's not in terrible shape. The only thing that's kind of a bummer is these plastic pieces are missing from both sides, because this did have, when I looked at the window sticker, because it's in the glove box still, this had the third row in it. Who knows where that is now, so I think at some point I'll probably get a rubber mat and lay in the back of this, but it's really not horrible. The sides of it are dirty. These things I got to take off because I need to get in and figure out exactly what wiring, because you see this whole big pile of wiring here. This whole thing I need to, wow, this is a lot higher than it used to be. The other thing we measured, it was 37 inches with squat with that thing in the back of it. I'm curious how much it actually came up now that it's out of it, because that thing's pretty heavy. But I got to, this board, disconnect and start cutting all these wires and figuring out what's what. Like, all this is what ran to the console and the back here.
The back bag.
Yeah, the back bag. And then some more of this stuff. I'm not really sure. A lot of this is just for the emergency lighting. And some maybe for control for the radios. I'm not 100% sure what we did here. This is the plug I was talking about for this outlet that's on the outside. If I plug a plug in there, I can actually have shore power inside of here, which would be kind of handy. But I guess now the next part's going to be is figuring out what's what here, and I'm not sure. The controller switch that's up there comes back to this somehow, and it has a communication wire, which might be this one. That's the next part I got to figure out, is where the control wire is. So I got to cut a lot of zip ties. All right, so now we're up in the front. Big thing we're doing here, like I said before when I first showed this vehicle to you guys, that's the factory battery up in that back corner. We're over here. This was the auxiliary battery that was added. Now I'm finally figuring it out. So all of the grounds look like they come to this one post here. The other ground for the vehicle runs around, goes over to the block, and then there's this other power wire that comes down right here. So there's just one power, there's one ground I gotta disconnect, and then everything goes to this thing here, and then I have to, I'm not sure how he mounted it on there. Looks like maybe double stick. I'm not really sure. Oh, it is. Okay, never mind. I'm an idiot. So it's all bolted through. So I got to just take the bolts off. Then this solenoid will come off. There's one wire that comes up to this post here. This post goes to the solenoid. Then the solenoid goes to this bar. And then all the power for the fuses all go through this. Everything's getting cut. That way I can yank and pull everything this way. There's some wiring right here. As you can see, the loom is just so brittle. It is just breaking into pieces everywhere. Obviously, quite a bit of heat over the years. But this is everything that I'm assuming goes up to the front, which will come up to all this whole brush guard assembly. So once I cut, I should be able to pull everything down through the hook hole, and then this thing will all come off in one piece, which will look great. And then I can get the light bar off. So that's kind of where we're at. This is just really confusing. Luckily, I have some experience in putting this stuff in. It's just a real pain in the butt.
How you making out there, Jeremy?
How's it look? How's it look like I'm making out here? Oh, God. There's about 8,000 miles of wire in this thing, I think. Let's just say I can't believe I should say I can believe the amount of wire. Oh, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one we got to set aside. There's one that goes up that's connected into the vehicle harness. I'm not really sure what it's for. A little apprehensive to cut it. I have a feeling all the wires coming on that side, other than like maybe the one warning light that's on the outside of the body, and maybe the stuff that goes up to the rear hatch. But I have a feeling that's all the antennas. The rest of this is all disconnected to the front. I've got one wire, like I started to say, that goes to the alternator, and I think it's from when this thing had the vehicle charger in it. I think that's what it's for. It's like an ignition sense. I won't know until I get it pulled back here all the way, but... Okay, so that's this one wire that's left. Now all the other wires I gotta pull up through the bottom of the center console. We're making progress. My light died too. center console is now out. I don't know what this is. I have to still figure this part out because this is going to something. All these are antennas. I'm probably going to keep them because the things are still on the roof. If I ever decide to put like a radio in this, it's easier to just leave the antennas. I don't know. There's only 4 up here in the front, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think 10 on the roof. So there's 6 antennas somewhere else. I think one of the 10 is this one, which is going to the one that's up in the front, which would be for the GPS when it existed. But it wasn't horrible getting this out. This is like really honestly the hardest part's done. All the wiring's been pulled. I got one big wire over here, which I'm assuming the way it comes up, I think it goes over to where you guys are posted right now is standing. I think it's where the light bar comes up through. I'll know more when I take the headliner and get it down out of the way. But I think the next step's going to be I'm going to kind of pull all these wires up through. I'm probably going to cut a lot of them because they don't serve purpose anymore. I found the one I was looking for, which is for the actual controller for the light box. So that one I'm going to keep aside. I don't want that one getting cut. But all the other ones I can really just cut. There's no point in having them. And then I can get rid of a lot of this wiring. That's a mess back there. Get a good look at that. That's a nice mess back there. That's all the wire, including all of this right here. Just run down through this thing. And like I said, this is the one that's going to the alternator. I gotta figure that one out still. So, all right, that's where we're at. But the one thing we're going to do when the seats are out over here, the stitching, this is what I was talking about in one of the past videos, it all popped apart and you got to cut it.